theatrical cut, and talking just from the theatrical cut. By the way, that guy's name is Mr. Kinney, who's about to, he gets completely whacked out here. But of course, he kind of, they show a kind of glimpse of what he could do, and of course they say, shoot, point the gun at Ed 209, and then this thing just boots up like it's almost just been powered on out of nowhere, and it's like, whoa, holy shit, this is a bit of a nightmare. And of course, he drops the gun, but Ed 209 is still wanting to, operate and kill him at this point. And he kind of, I love the whole, I'm going to give you 15 seconds to comply. And then all of a sudden they're like, holy shit, he can't turn this thing off. What's funny about this when you watch it a few times is they're all chucking him around. There's like no help for this guy. They're throwing him out of the way because they don't want to get shot. And then, of course, it happens. Man, the violence in this film, like, we talk about Running Man in our last retrospective, and that got like most violent film of the year. I think it won that. This isn't far off it, man. I think if some of this would have been left in, it definitely probably would have got that. But this, although it's violent, it's not like it's not sort of really bad violence in the sense that the amount of the ridiculous amount of blood use here just makes it kind of come across funny, doesn't it, at the end of this? And I know in the theatrical cut they take so much out of that, but yet I think if they'd have left it in, it would have just kind of come across funny. And one of the funniest lines after this, man, I'm sure you know it, is that when one of the guys turns around and they're like, "Call paramedic." It's like, whoa, this guy is definitely dead at this point. Like, don't touch him, don't touch him. And of course there's that famous line where Dick goes up to the old man and he's like, I'm sure it was just a glitch. A temporary setback, and the old man's like, "You call this a glitch?" And of course this is where we get Bob Morton. He kind of gets his, he gets his two penance in just at the right time, I guess, and tells him about his security concepts and the whole Robocop program, and how they want to kind of go ahead with it. And, Dick kind of jumps straight in there like he doesn't want this to happen. But, of course, the old man at this point, he just wants something out there. He's, he needs it. He's lusting for, a good product at this point. So he kind of, gives the green light, if you will, to do this. And, in the next scene, he's given 20 minutes for a presentation and all the rest of it. With Dick Jones sort of left not so happy about that. But Matt, that scene of that, how it's a kind of an iconic scene, I guess, now. And what's really blunt and sort of like really ruthless about it is that Johnston and Bob Morton, they get back in the lift and they're like, "Hey, what about Kinnan?" And they're like, "Fuck him, man. It's a big world or a big city or something like that." And it's like, that's life. There's no remorse. There's no kind of emotion for that guy at all. And I think they set that tone up very, very quickly, that this is all about making money, this is about products, and it's kind of ruthless in that sense. Did you like that? Was it believable enough as outrageous as it is, Matt?
Oh yeah, the entire scene was outrageous, especially coming in with this incredibly huge robot, blows this guy completely away, blood splattering everywhere. It's pretty much once you got to this part of the movie, you're acclimatized now to what you're going to be seeing. Because I must admit, like, even when I had seen that scene first, I was pretty much shocked by what I was seeing. That guy just taking repeated rounds after round on that table, getting completely obliterated. A nice little interesting tidbit of information as well is the gun that he pulls out and points at Ed 29 is a Desert Eagle, and it was the original gun intended to be held by Robocop.
Yes, I read that somewhere as well.
When they actually got it into his hand, it was like a toy gun to him, too small, wasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he needed a much bigger prop for that. Now, we jump to the next scene, and finally, we get some action here for Murphy and Lewis. But, of course, before that, we get that nice little kind of where he's doing the gun swing on his hand, and he referenced that to a program that they call TJ Laser, which, of course, is reference to TJ Hooker. Maybe just an advanced version that they're trying to set up in the time here. They play that in, and of course they get called out, and then we get, of course, our first glimpse of Clarence Boddicker, Matt. Now, the guy that plays him here, I mean, I think he does. At the time, I hated this guy. I thought he was like one of the worst guys I'd ever seen. I thought he was horrible, nasty as a kid. Like, how could this guy do it? And of course, Kurtwood Smith is the guy that plays this role. No more famously, Matt, to seeing in the 70s shows. He's the lovable guy now, isn't he? But here, I think they do a very good job at casting this guy, because he does very well here at this. And I bought him as an ultimate sort of bad guy. Like, I had no time for this guy whatsoever. And I think they get that off the bat straight away. But in these opening segments with him, his introduction, Matt, they've just done kind of a robbery. It's gone completely wrong. It's like, you burn the fucking money. It's gone totally tits up. And then we see Murphy and Lewis in pursuit of the van. But of course, this is not just an introduction to Clarence. This is an introduction to kind of, I guess, the whole gang that he's in with here. And they, I think they do a very good job. But, considering the amount of people that we're already opening up, we're in like just under 15 minutes. And the amount of people we're getting introduced to, it's going at a very nice pace. Like, there are a lot of films you think, hang on a minute, I'm totally lost. Where the hell are we? Who's who? I think this film does an excellent job at the introducing of all the characters. And considering how many is in Clarence's gang here, they're all very iconic and they're all very different and distinct from one another. And I think they do a good job here with the casting, Matt. Would you agree?
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. And yeah, I think it's good as well, the amount of freedom that they give a lot of actors in this. Mm-hmm. I think when you was talking about the guy that plays Clarence Boddicker, he was brought in to read for that role and also Dick Jones' role as well.
Yeah.
But, after flicking through the script, he was like, that's the character I want. This guy, he's a lot of fun.
Yeah. And you can see he has a lot of fun with it. I love it, like where he's in that van and he's kind of kicking the driver. Just looks like he's just done it on his own back there. He's just like taking that out. But of course, there's a kind of the shoot off between the car and we get to see Murphy in a little bit of action here, holding up two guns, and they're having a shoot off. This scene, Matt, it does have something in it that everybody cries about. I'm sure you know what it is, Matt. Is when of course they say, "Can you fly, Bobby?" And, it gets chucked on the windscreen, and of course there's another shot where the car's going right and the windscreen's absolutely fine again. When they're taking shotguns at it. It's a little small thing. I don't know how the hell we got in there, but all films have something like that. I don't think it's too much of a distinguished moment that I go, oh well, that's ruined the film for me. But as annoying as it is, I'm not. It's like a 1 second brief shot there of the inconsistency, but of course that scene happens, and then we kind of get to this. I think they're almost in an abandoned steel factory, aren't they, Matt? Where they kind of drive into where the gang's gone, and I tell you what, this kind of, I love the location they picked here. I think this was excellently done. I think this is a great location to do it on, and it's got a kind of eerie spook to it, even at this point when they're getting out looking for him, which I liked. I liked the fact that you felt like, hang on a minute, I know there's that thing where they say, like, we've got to wait for backup, like, kind of screw that, let's go and do it. But I kind of felt like, hang on a minute, I'm not sure you want to do it. And, when I was younger, at least, I was kind of fearing for these people's lives here, because this wasn't a gang that looked like they were going to just sort of bow out quietly, shall we say.
Yeah, I mean, you got the real sense of just how evil these guys were when they're willing to sacrifice their own guys, even if they're part of their own gang, just throw them on top of a car. Yeah, that was a good technique there of showing just how ruthless these people can be. So I would say, I completely agree. Like when they got to that old steel mill, it's really dirty and grimy, and it looks like the perfect place just to have a horrible, grisly kind of murder scene. So yeah, I was definitely kind of in the same position you were coming up to this point, thinking you don't really want to go in there without backup. You're outnumbered. It's this real sense of worry for the actual stars.
Sure. Now, Lewis, of course, gets distracted by the guy taking a leak, which is interesting because, she's getting changed around all these guys. But that distracts her enough, Matt, that he kind of gets the one up on her, and of course, she kind of falls to the ground, taking quite a heavy bump there. And you're like, at this point, you're like, oh crap, this is not working out well. And that actor, he's got that laugh. It's kind of like a mix of Chris Rock and somebody else. I mean, he's just got that distinct laugh going on all the time. And of course, then we kind of get left with Murphy, who we're kind of thinking like, okay, so what's he going to be able to do on his own when he catches one of these guys? And this is one of the first scenes, Matt, where we get, of course, the iconic TV comedy that runs throughout this whole film. I'll buy that for $1. That catch line, that catchphrase. Of course, it's iconic with this film, Matt. The whole thing. It's funny to look at, but and how much it gets used, and it seems like it's the only kind of sitcom program, comedy program that runs in Old Detroit at this time. But for you, Matt, that is it. I know that even got. I think that line come up in even the remake they did as well. I think they got it in on the remake just because that's how iconic it's become. I'll buy that for $1. Is that distinguished enough for you as well as being the fanboy, Matt?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, it's one of the lines that you associate with it straight away. You talk to someone about it and they're like, oh yeah, I'll buy that for $1. I definitely think it's also another good technique they use to establish that this is a living, breathing world. Like the TV is on, you're going to see what the top shows are. And, just the fact that this one is supposedly so popular, it is going to be on a lot of people's TV. So it's another thing that actually draws you in with the characters, and you get a little glimpse into what their life is like. And just sticking on a show like that, which is blatantly sexist humour, is just the norm on these days.
Yeah, I like the idea because it would have been easy. A lot of films they just they put in a bit of fluff in the background. It's not really anything. But I like the idea that they went out and shot that and played it as a TV. Like a proper thing going on. I like that, and like you say, it makes it more living. Now Murphy kind of comes in here, he gets the one-upmanship, and she takes down one of the guys, and then he's left, and of course that line, another good line in this film, "Dead or alive, you're coming with me." Great line in the film, and at this point he's up, and then all of a sudden, Matt, after we get the shot of kind of like Lewis worried in the back, he's calling back up. Then all of a sudden, I just love the way it's kind of like it's kind of like a moment where you're thinking, oh shit, this is not good, because you get like one guy one side, one guy another, and it's like, okay, they've got him completely surrounded. There's no way he's going to get out of this well. This is not good at all. And what they really do well here is the way they kind of introduce Clarence back into the scene, where he just kind of walks gingerly back into the fray. I kind of like that. It's kind of like, this is not going to end well here, and you just can't see how he's going to get out of this. But it's so well done. It's such a good. I think he plays that character so well as Clarence Boddicker here, because just the way he kind of comes in just casually, and this is a guy who's totally in control of the situation now, and he can kind of do anything at any time. Matt, this scene, without a question, it's got to be one of the most violent death of a hero. Paul Verhoeven, one of the reasons he liked to do this the screenplay and wanting to direct this, is he was fascinated by killing the hero here, Matt, and I know that was one of his big things. What's interesting about Paul Verhoeven as well, when you listen to him now, Matt, I'm sure you got that vibe off of him. He kind of puts this towards a Jesus metaphor almost. It's kind of like the dying, the rebirth, and then the walking on water bit. Did you get that part? Did you see that in the documentary, Matt, where he was talking about that? It's kind of fascinating to see that take on it, and that's where he was going about good and evil and all the rest of it. I mean, it's not something I would have thought about the first, when I was watching it, that's for sure. But, I guess you could put some comparison on it. But what's your take on his outlook there, Matt, of the film, especially with this scene where he gets shot to pieces almost?
Yeah, it's something that I've watched many times, but I never really got that connection myself. It might be one of